Hey, this is Coaster Chall Donkster Button Bob, both the boss. Welcome to another Coaster Chall review. Now, this review is from Duel, the haunted house strikes back at the Alton Towers Resort. Now, this ride opened in 2002. 2003, my apologies. It originally opened in 1992 as the haunted house, along with the Gloomy Wood section. Then it became, in 2003, Duel, the haunted house strikes back. I never got a chance to experience the original haunted house. However, I have heard some people saying bring the haunted house back, and now people are complaining that Duel is just not a good ride up to scratch anymore, and I will agree with them. So in this review I'll do the same as I usually do. We're going to go through the queue line station atmosphere first, but I'm not going to go too much into detail about specific things because I want to save that for the layout. When I talk about the layout, because I want to talk about the whole ride. Obviously not the layout of the actual dark ride itself, because I can only pick out my favourite scenes from that. It's really jolty from memory, but the queue line and stuff like that and the other little bits I can pick out from scratch, from memory. So moving into queue line station atmosphere to start the video then. So with that, I'm going to give that a good 6 out of 10 rating. I think the old queue line, because I did experience both versions of Duel before they got its TLC stuff with the new things in the queue line and the new soundtrack and stuff like that. The queue line and station atmosphere I'm going to give 6 out of 10. The soundtrack in the actual station bit wasn't that loud in my opinion, but the queue line soundtrack was quite loud. It was quite nice. I liked the old soundtrack when they did the Richard O'Connor reporting live for ATNC. And the whole stuff about Dr. Nicholas Rudi's home, and the whole storyline and stuff like that, but I think that started to get a little bit dated, and I do prefer the new, well, even though I like the old soundtrack because it's very historic, and they've got the for higher score and identify and hit yellow targets on the ghouls, spiders and zombies. Some zombies are armed and they may shoot back, so prepare to Duel. I like that classic soundtrack, but in terms of keeping it fresh, keeping it updated, I do love the new soundtrack. It kind of gives it that creepy, it kind of sounds a bit like Scarefest. Some of you who have heard the new soundtrack that was put in last season will agree with me that it sounds like something from a Scarefest maze or something. Now, of course, they did update the queue line. They replaced some of the animatronics with like some picture frames, but they have like a generic 3D imagery that'll pop out every now and then to give it that scare factor. They've kept the Emily doll's house and they've kept the projection of Emily. I think one time when I rode it, I think the projection was off, and I think it showed like projection off. That made it look very unprofessional, so I think that needs to be fixed. Otherwise, get it changed into a permanent projection. I'm not too sure. I mean, it can be vastly improved in my opinion. So 6 out of 10 for queue line station atmosphere. Theming around the ride, gonna give it a 7. I'm only gonna give it 7 because it's not exactly the best themed dark ride I've done. I think the theming could have been vastly improved. I think one big thing, and I know many other people have stated about this, a few years ago they replaced some of the LED lights with strobes, so some of the animatronics we could see the actual mechanical arms moving about. That ruined the experience for us, so that's something they need to change drastically. They need to put the LEDs back in. They need to make sure it's either put the LEDs back in or just replace the animatronic and put it in with something else, because it looks way too dated now. I think Duel, in terms of anything other than CBeebies Land, I think it's one of the most dated rides and one of the rides that needs the most work in Alton Towers at the moment. I'm sure there's plenty of other rides and areas around the park that need updating. Subterrace site needs work. Is it just going to be for Scarefest? Like, I'm sure Thorpe Park will be just using the Celebrity building now for Scarefest. Now that's closed and removed from the park. So is Alton Towers going to do what they're doing with Celebrity's building, just use Subterra as a Scarefest building? Toilet and Toadstool, we know that's not coming back now, so they need to do something around that site. The whole Calcucula needs updated, never mind just Toadstool. We know the two family drop towers that are planned for CBeebies Land. So is this the end for Froghopper? If it is, do you want to just retire the ride now and put it out of its misery, rather than just let it suffer alone while the other two family drop towers in CBeebies Land are getting the most attention for that kind of market? I mean, there's a lot of areas that need to improve, and Duel, in my opinion, is one of the current running attractions that need the most work, because the theming around the ride is dated. Even though they've got the new soundtrack and the new edits to the queue line, which makes it better, there's still some effects in the layout, which I'll talk about later in the video, that need the most effects. So theming around the ride, I'm only going to give it 7 out of 10 because it's still okay, but it's getting very dated now. The layout itself, I'm only going to give it 5 out of 10. If it was the original Haunted House, from what I've seen from the videos, I would have given it 6 instead of 5. But the layout, in terms of on and off ride experience, it's just a 5 out of 10 for me. It's just not up to par with what I know Alton Towers can do. Some of the animatronics, like I said, have been dated. The guns make it worse. It's unbelievably bad. The trommel, has that been fixed over this winter season? Probably not. I mean, I know the Towers Living Care programme has stopped, so we haven't really seen many updates on Twitter this year compared to last year, the last year of the programme. But I still feel as if they should fix the trommel. Anyone who's going on the opening day of Alton Towers, please let me know in the comments down below when you're going, and if you're going on the opening day. Because I want you to double check if that trommel is working on Duel, because if it's not, I'm going to be really, really angry, because that is part of the ride that needs the most work. They need to fix the trommel, get it back working again, get some effects on it, make it look unique. Don't make it one of those travelling funfair ghost train trommel tunnels where it'll just spin, because that's boring. That's boring. Get some effects on it and get it updated. There's plenty of other bits that are really dated now. I mean, the spider, when I was younger and I did the ride for the first time, the spider really scared me as it jumped out from the ceiling. The ginormous spider. But now it's just, it's been painted up a bit, but it's just not scary anymore. This needs to be scary. It can't just be a shooting dart ride. It needs to be scary for families. And it's just not scary anymore. They're just playing for scores. And that's not what the ride was created for. The original Haunted House was created for scares, not for keeping score of how many people you shot with your lasers. Now it's flipped the other way around. Now that Duel's actually come in, and even if the ride's been updated, they haven't really done much with it to improve it, in my opinion. So again, layout, I can only give it a 5 out of 10. Overall then, for this ride, I'm going to give it 5.5 out of 10. Some of you may think this is very, very harsh. But in my opinion, Duel at Alton Towers, and from what I've seen, Tomb Blaster at Chessington as well, those two dart rides in the Millen Entertainment's chain are the ones that need the most amount of work now. They're the next two dart rides to get changed, revamped. I don't care if you demolish it and put in a brand new dart ride. Just put a replacement dart ride in for both of them, because it's just not working anymore. I don't think Duel and Tomb Blaster have a long-term future at the parks. I think Tomb Blaster, keep going the way it's going, it's only got a few years left in it. Duel, again, only a few years left in it. Some of you may disagree, but in my opinion, there's only a few years these can operate. And it's awful to see the rides in these states. So just put it out of its misery, get it closed, put in a brand new dart ride system, do some extensive work over the next couple of years, and make it a world-class dart ride. Maybe above the level of Darren Brown's Ghost Train at Thorpe Park. Because you look at what they did. They ripped out a carousel and an arena. They used to host the Spider-Man stunt show back in the day. You look at what they did with that space. Yes, people don't like the VR quality, and it's had many different technical faults. It's been hashtag unavailable for so many times. They enhanced it to bring in Rise of the Demon a year later. It's better now. It still needs a little bit of work here and there, but it's turning into it. The more times you get used to it, the more it will start making it worth the money. I know Darren Brown's Ghost Train is probably one of Thorpe's most expensive projects. Maybe not on that level, but something between the 15 to 20 million pound mark would be perfect for a dart ride, as long as you get what you're paying for. So in my opinion, Duel and Tomb Blaster need the most work. I'm not going to talk about Tomb Blaster much because I haven't really done that ride, so I can't review it. However, those of you who are listening, Toon Blaster needs work, but mainly because this video is about Duel. Duel needs ripping out. It needs a brand new dart ride being put in. None of the VR bull rubbish. I'm not going to swear because it's family channel. Don't do like a VR dart ride like a Darren Brown. Do something that's traditional to the dart ride system, but something that's completely different. I mean, you look at Popcorn Revenge at Wallaby, Belgium, that's going in this year. That's an altar-face dart ride where you start in one area, and the cars go off into different scenes, and it will get split up in the building. You can extend the building towards the side, towards that closed fence. You can extend that building a bit. I'd say rebuild the ride, rebuild that area into a completely new dart ride, a new system, something that pays homage to the classic dart ride, but nothing that uses VR or 3D or anything like that. I know Popcorn Revenge uses 3D, but just a different dart ride system, maybe a trackless dart ride, and give it that family horror theme. Or maybe just redo Gloomywood altogether, do it into a brand new sort of themed area and give it a new theme. I don't know, but just do something, whether it's ripping out Duel altogether and putting a brand new dart ride in, or retheming Duel, or upgrading it, ripping out the guns, just whatever you can do. I know some people like Duel, and I know some people like the Haunted House, but just do something with it, because right now it isn't in the best of way at all. So for this ride, I'm only going to give it 5.5 out of 10 overall. So that's this review from Duel, the Haunted House Strikes Back at Alton Towers. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. My name is Chall, hashtag Doncasterborn but built for theme parks. Keep living the coast life, my dudes, and I'll see you guys in the next video soon. Take care, have an awesome day.